What's up, card fighters? Kyle from Team Villains here, and I got my boy once again, Cameron. Cameron, what do you have for us today?
We're going to go with the last deck of Answer Truth, Gear Chronicle.
Amazing. Let's see those beautiful grade 4s.
Grade 4s. So, the main one is Mystery Flare Dragon. Y'all remember his stride. Pretty bad. He's way better. So, when he is placed, he goes into a sequence of his abilities. Now, his sequence is off of how many grades of the cards that are binded. So if you bind 4 of the grade 4s, it's a lot. You're going to get all your abilities off. That's 16 of them. So at 3 or more, he gets an extra drive check. 7 or more, he gets an extra crit. 13 or more, he's going to get 6 units, 10k, including himself. You count him as a 6 unit. And then at 19 or more, he gets an extra turn. Pretty insane. Extra turns are always good. The likelihood of you pulling that off is pretty rare. However, you can get to the 10k pretty fast. You just generally, what I do, I just bind the grade 4s.
I've yet to see the extra turn so far, but I mean, games usually just end way before.
Yeah. Everything's too. I'll have the rush right now, but I mean, if you happen to pull that off, you're a god. So I want to see people do it. Yeah. Then we go with the other grade 3 or grade 4. I apologize. We're gonna go Idealized Dragon. I play 2 of him. He's not as powerful as Mystery Flare, but he's got some really good effects. So maybe early turns, you want to go into him. He gets you some free advantage. So same thing. Sequence of events, sequence of abilities. They go into tune. 1 or more, you rerun one of their opponent's rear guards. They get to choose. So if they only have one pesky little card, it's gonna go away. Then 5 or more, you call a top card of your deck to rear guard. It's always a good ability. Free units. And then at 11 or more, you call 2 units from your drop zone, and 3 of your units get 5k power. I have never actually pulled that off technically. It's just more of I really go into the Mystery Flare getting closer to like 11 because 13 is always pretty important to me. So, but if you do that, I see people actually playing more of him than Mystery Flare because they like his cheap abilities. So. I only play 4 grade 3s. The Lost Legend. Lost Legend has 2 abilities. He has an act ability. Discard the sum to be 3 or greater, and you can ride into one of the grade 4s. There's going to be times where you'll discard a grade 4 to do it. You can discard him. So there's a lot of ways to get to that. Another thing about that ability is at the end of the turn, you retire the grade 4 and you rewrite him, so you get that extra force marker. You only play the 4, and you still get a force marker every turn. I've also rotated him to get 1. Use his skill. At the end of my turn, got another one. So 2 force markers in 1 turn. It's pretty insane. You set up for your next turn, get those big numbers. There's another ability. When you ride on top of him, you kind of blast 2, draw a card. And that's really what I use my counter blast for, is just to use his skill to draw. Drawing cards in the game is really important right now. So then we're going to go to the grade 2s. We're going to go 4 Lost Break. Lost Break is probably the most important one. He nets advantage on Vanguard, Rearguard, bind a card, draw a card. Then on the Rearguard circle, he has an ability, during your turn, if you have a bind unit, he gains 3k. So you put him on a force, he's 23. Those are perfect numbers. Just hitting force or excel or protect, he's just going to be... He gets there pretty good. So, and if you hit him with a Mystery Flare, he's going to be at 10k, an extra 10k, so he's going to be at 33. So
yeah, standalone units and force decks are super important now.
Plus, I mean, he's drawing you a card, so he's netting you advantage, getting you cards binded away so you can use Mystery Flare or Idolize. Then I'm going to go into the other grade 2s. We're going to go 4 of the rare, Naboo. Naboo has an underrated skill to me. When she attacks the Vanguard, you bind a card from your drop zone, so it's another binding card, and your opponent cannot guard with grade 1s or higher. So you can give her power constantly, you can boost her, so she can get pretty high naturally. And then if you give her a crit or something, they're going to be harder to guard with her. Yeah, perfect guards are still a thing with the 0s, but they're going to waste more time trying to guard her than normal. And then she puts herself into soul, and you draw a card.
I mean, if they're using perfect guard anything other than your triple drive, they're having problems.
Yeah. So, I mean, or they just have a ton of perfect guards, and you're just going to waste all of them. But she puts into soul, so you have more soul blast for other things. Drawing cards is always important in this deck, you know. So. And we're going to my final grade 2. I only play 3 of her. I actually might bump her up to 4 because I realize her ability is actually really important. You bind a card from your drop zone, she gains 3k when she enters the field. So that's incredibly important. She's a 13k, just like Lost Break. Binding from drop zone instead of hand is also kind of important when you discard constantly. But definitely, she's got a lot of good advantage to her. So, and then we're going to our grade 1s. This is my favorite one. Stride Enablers are back, at least with Gear Chronicle. When you discard him, he counts as a 3. That is the main thing I use his ability for. He's got a really good first ability that's only on Vanguard. So if you happen to ride him as a grade 1 and you hit, when he attacks and hits, you bind a card from your hand and you draw a card. Like I said, drawing cards is very important. You get netting 2 cards, attacking with him because you drive check and then his own ability. A lot of times people actually guard him. So, but there's a couple cards like when you with Lost Legend, when you discard, counts as grade 3. It's also important. So, and then we're going to go into, I'm going to butcher this one, Memini, believe so. She's a once per turn effect. When your Vanguard is placed by either Lost Legends Guild, by normal riding, or even at the end of the turn, draw a card, and then you discard a card from your hand. So you draw first, then you decide to discard. If you discard a grade 3 or greater, 3 of your units get 5k. You can discard Lost Legend, you can discard any of the grade 4s, or you can cost Wedge more. Wedge move, he counts when he gets discarded by an effect. So you can draw a card for free, and then discard him, 5k. So adding a power pretty quickly is really good in this deck. And then the big problem that I remember seeing when I first looked at this deck was like, well, how do you need the grade 4s back if they keep retiring? They came out with Quickie Worker. Quickie Workers, when this card is placed from hand, only from hand, put up to 1 card from the drop zone to the bottom of the deck. If you placed a grade 3 or greater, Soul Blast 2, draw a card. Combos really well with the deck. You're going to constantly retire your 4s. You can put those back, draw a card. You have more fodder to get them out, so you're not losing advantage. You know, you're going to get Soul. You don't really use Soul for anything else in this deck. Drawing card is always just as important as anything. Just draw a card. Pretty simple effects, so.
I love those kind of cards where you get to use like just a random resource to get in a free card. Like, come on.
The deck doesn't really net a whole lot of resources. Everything that you use, you get replaced with. You bind a card, you're drawing the card, so you're not losing anything. The only downside is that the fact that you only play 4 grade 3s, but you're gonna G assist in this deck, and if you don't have to because you draw Lost Legend, you're a god. So we're gonna go back to our triggers. I only play 4 draw, the perfect cards. The deck draws constantly, so I really don't need to play anymore. I don't want to try and take myself out. I've came close. Games can last sometimes pretty long, and with Mystery Flare's extra drive check, and you have to do that, it kind of hurts you maybe towards the end of it. So I only play 4. I will play 8 crit total, though. You want to be able to crit your opponent. They get a lot of power, make these cards really hard to guard. So getting crits, putting power around is going to be really beneficial to you.
Have to respect the Mystery Flare. Getting
10Ks to everything and then getting 10 more K on top of that, they're going to have to start perfect guarding or waste their entire hand to guard you. And you know, if they're like, yeah, triple drive and you have a crit, I guess I can take that, and you rip 3 crits off the top. Spicy. And then heals, you don't want to die. So, but pretty impressed with this deck. So.
All right, that's it for Gear Chronicle. Hopefully, we'll get some really, really cool support for them in the future. They were one of my favorite decks in G era. So, you know, fingers crossed on that. But, as always, guys, don't forget to leave a like. Hit us with those comments down below. Smash that subscribe button. And ding, 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 ring the notification bell. That's all we got for you today. Peace.